call about Waikoa.
Yes. Yeah.
If you can call me, can you call me after this meeting or no?
Yeah, I can call you after the meeting.
Okay,
Mhm.
so that's a good time for me, and then
No problem.
my brain working here, so. So Ebenezer, I got information from Catherine about staff handing over the host. I'll wait till he's back on. Hi, Maria. And Juana.
Hello.
Mary,
Yes.
we have a Guild Care, an adult day healthcare program that's in need of more participants. It's a wonderful director, and I'm wondering if there's a way I can make that announcement.
When we get into new business on the agenda,
Okay, great. Thank you.
just speak up at that point.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to know when would be the best time. Thank you.
Yeah. Under the new business.
Okay.
Hi, Maria.
Good morning.
Morning.
I cannot hear anything yet. You
Huh?
have me on mute.
Oh, you're not on
No,
mute.
we can hear you.
No,
Hi,
you're not
Maria.
muted.
Maybe your volume's turned down.
Oigo nada,
Can you hear?
nada.
Can you hear us, Maria?
Can you hear us? Testing, testing.
I have no,
We hear you.
no te oigo nada.
I don't think she hears us though.
Now I can hear.
You can hear us now?
Now, thank you. Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
Morning, Maria.
Juana to the rescue, right?
All right.
Morning, James. Ebenezer, could you work on promoting the participants, please? One of them is our speaker.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Iman. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good. We're waiting for a few more people to come on.
All right, great.
Good morning, Mary.
Good morning,
Good
Lilia.
morning, everyone. How are you, Mary?
I'm okay. We're just waiting for a couple more people to come on board before we get started. So we'll give it another 5 minutes.
Mary, do we have an agenda? I'm looking for my emails and I don't see the one with the agenda, so maybe I may have lost it.
I sent it out to everybody along with the link.
No, I
Is
know,
that-
I remember.
The link and the agenda are on one
I
email.
remember that I saw it. But
The agenda doesn't really change too much except where, the presentation information.
Diane Ashley would like to enter. Could she please be promoted?
Yeah, I was giving Ebenezer time to get everybody promoted, so. There's a few more people on there, Ebenezer, thank you.
Morning, everyone. Thank you, Miriam.
Oh, here you
Thank you,
are.
Morning.
and thank you, Ebenezer. Hey, Mary, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Dory, do you know if Richard's coming on?
I'm not sure. Let me find out. Hold on. Two minutes, Mary.
Okay. I haven't heard from Joseph either. Let me see. There he is. Richard, Ebenezer, there's one more person on the attendee list, Rosie Bernard. You can promote her.
I tried several times, but I'm gonna.
Oh, okay,
Mhm.
okay. Seems like we always have that trouble with at least one. All right, being aware of everybody's time, I want to get this meeting started. James, would you do me a favor and take minutes until Joseph comes on? I just texted him to see if he was joining. Thank you. So good morning, everyone. To the CB12 Committee for Concerns of the Aging on this Tuesday, April 4th.
Like 8:45. You were in the town zone, 17 minutes.
I'm sorry? Okay, somebody's not muted. James, did you? Are you able to do that for me?
You will, but the first one to call me.
Joseph is on.
Oh, he is? Oh, there he is. Okay, Joseph, I'm sorry.
I think I
Didn't
was.
see you. Okay, great.
Seen that, but I got there before him. And then
Welcome aboard.
9:30, 9:35, 9:36, is that there? 9:38, I think.
Okay. If,
9:41, Artie will call me.
okay,
Right?
let's,
Just 1 minute ago, we just got the calls back.
Mary, I think there's some
There-
background noise coming from
Yeah.
Rabbi Kalinsky's background.
right, if people, that have background noise could mute themselves for the moment. Just want to welcome everybody to the Committee for Concerns of the Aging on this Tuesday, April 4th. Our meeting for this month was changed to Tuesday because of Passover starting on Wednesday night. We cannot have board meetings on the first 2 days or the last 2 days of Passover. So that's the reason for the change this month. We will continue Starting next month, again, going back to the first Thursday. Okay, and on that note, let's do introductions. My name is Mary Anderson. I am the chair of this committee and also co-chair of WICOA, as well as the president of the board of directors at the Star Senior Center. Joseph,
Hi,
please.
my name is Joseph. I'm the assistant chair. Welcome, everyone.
Richard Allman.
I'm Richard Allman. I'm a member of CB12 and a member of this committee. And I work for Arc Fort Washington Senior Centers. And that's it.
Okay, James.
You're muted,
You
James.
muted. Yeah.
Hi, sorry about that. Member of this committee, a member of the Committee for Traffic and Transportation, and also founder and member of Up Theater Company.
Thank you, Maria.
Good morning, Maria Luna, member of this committee, the Youth Service and Education Committee, member of the board, many organizations, and also of the advisory board for the city on the concerns of the agent. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Dory.
Good morning, everyone. Dory Garcia, Executive Director of Arc 16 Full Washington, Inc., Treasurer of WICOA, and a public member of this committee.
Thank you. Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Beth Miller, the Outreach and Referral Coordinator at Lighthouse Guild, which is services for people with impaired vision and blindness. And we have an adult day healthcare program.
Luz.
Hi, everyone. My name is Luz. I'm a program manager at NYU and just interested in joining today's meeting and giving a quick presentation. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. Liliet.
Good morning, Liliet Lopez, NY Connects Outreach Specialist, and NY connects people with any disability, any age, to services and resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane.
Good morning, everybody. Diane Ashley, Chief Marketing and Communications Officer for MJHS Health System, and here representing both MJHS and Isabella Center.
Thank you, Lady.
Morning, everyone. My name is Lady Jorge, and I'm the director here at Star Senior Center.
Thank you. Haley.
Hi, I'm Kaylee Lamarge. I'm a public health student at NYU, and I'll be presenting with Luz. Thank you for having us.
Wow, thank you. Toby.
I am Toby Weiss. I am Assistant Vice President of Cultural Diversity for MJHS Hospice and Palliative Care.
Thank you. Miriam.
Miriam Ravner. I am the Outreach Coordinator and the Cultural Sensitivity Liaison for MJHS Hospice and Palliative Care, and a board member of WICOA.
Thank you. Madison.
Madison from NYU. I'm an undergrad and I'm working with Luz and Kaylee to present today.
Thank you. Rosie.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rosie Bernard. I'm Cultural Sensitivity Liaison for MJHS Hospice and Palliative Care. I work with Toby and Miriam. Thank you for having me.
Thank you all for coming. So without further ado, let me introduce our speaker for today. Actually, let me have her introduce herself.
Thank you so much. My name is Iman Ramawi Doster. I am the Executive Director of the Harlem Independent Living Center. Previously, when I met Mary a few months ago, I was still working with New York Lawyers for the Public Interest around all kinds of accessibility needs in the city, from paratransit to buses and trains, to hospitals, to sidewalks, storefronts, to examinations, to everything, you name it, with accessibility, in regards to like accessibility for elders and disabled folks, I took care of it. I'm also a double amputee and I have lupus. So I do understand the lived experience of dealing with an inaccessible city and inaccessible everything around the city. So here today, I'm going to talk about Access-a-Ride and some of the issues that have been going on with Access-a-Ride, and sort of some of the, I wouldn't necessarily call them hacks, but some of the things that I've used since I've been using it since 2010 to make it a little bit easier. So if folks aren't aware, Access-a-Ride is the paratransit service that the MTA runs for folks who cannot use buses and trains, the traditional buses and trains. In my honest opinion, they run it very badly, and they often cry broke when all it is a management issue, and they are just extremely disorganized and just basically throw whatever they want to throw at us simply because it's a service for disabled folks and elders. If folks aren't aware, it's $275 each way, each ride. There are no discounts. Although you do get a Metro card if you are willing to use a bus or train, if you don't want to deal with the shenanigans of Access-a-Ride. If you don't have on demand or e-hail, which I'll talk about a little bit later, you have to book your trip a day or two in advance, which works for some people, but for some other folks like myself, who is a working professional with disabilities, my schedule changes at the drop of a hat all the time. And so booking it a day or two in advance often does not work for me. I had to cancel my trips last night, early this morning, because of what's going on in Manhattan, so that I don't have to deal with waiting for Access-a-Ride for hours and hours and hours. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to work from home today since I've got a bunch of virtual meetings, and then I'll go to my late night meeting after all the shenanigans are over and traffic clears up. Unfortunately, Access-a-Ride often blames the traffic when, again, it's just mismanagement and disorganization. They work with a ton of brokers, and the broker company is working. Broker companies are usually smaller cars, sometimes minivans, oftentimes not wheelchair accessible, and not really accessible for any other disabilities as well, including deaf and blind folks or folks with cognitive disabilities as well, which I've had a huge issue with for many years. But they claim they're working on it. Not seeing it, but they claim to be working on it. If you have an issue, you're often told to call the complaint line. I've complained hundreds of times over the years, and I often get a generic response back about my complaint, which, kind of activates my beast mode, because I'm like, why are you generically responding to a complaint that is specific to my issue? I have issues with that. So when you book your trip, it's supposed to work seamlessly, that you book your trip a day or two in advance if you call or use the app. Now, the app is supposed to be being updated. It does not always work. It's not always as seamless and accessible as it should be, but they claim to be working on it. Okay, I'll give them that. They're saying they're working on it. They're working on it. But you can call the number as well. The issue with calling the number now is that the operators don't necessarily connect with the broker companies that are supposed to be picking up the trips. 80% of the trips now are on the broker companies, which means they're not the traditional blue and white vehicles that Access-a-Ride can actually track. With all the trips, though, the GPS is now being worked on, which means it's kind of ridiculous. It's frustrating to try to get around the city, especially if you can't track your trip, and the operators can't track your trip either. And the dispatchers often are difficult because they don't want to track the trip for you, because they want to say, oh, they're 2 or 3 minutes away when they're really 20 or 30 minutes away. I've been working on that as well. I'm part of the Advisory Council for Transit Accessibility, or ACTA, and I'm the chair of the Paratransit Committee still. And I often bring that up, that it is disingenuous to tell your customers that the trip is 2 to 5 minutes away when they're really 20 or 30 minutes away, especially if we can't accurately track our trip. So they're still working on that as well. They keep blaming COVID. These problems have been going on long before COVID, so can't blame that. And they say that they're working on bringing in new brokers, working on bringing in new companies, since they're not using Curb anymore as the primary broker and primary e-hail and on-demand. Now with e-hail and on-demand, if you were part of the special 1,500 people, or no, 1,200 people who got chosen to be part of the on-demand e-hail program, you can call a trip whenever you want, whenever you want to go. Now, unfortunately, they're not adding any more people to it because they're trying to dismantle the e-hail on-demand program. They're saying it was too expensive. Well, oh my gosh, a program that actually works and people are going to use it? Of course it's expensive, but it's also expensive because you guys chose people like me who use Access-a-Ride like 6 days a week. So I'm using it constantly, and that's why it's expensive. If you actually diversified who's using it, then you would see an accurate picture of Access-a-Ride customers instead of just choosing people who use it constantly and then thinking, oh, this is going to be accurate. No, it's going to come off as expensive, especially if you choose advocates who are constantly out running all over the place, which, and it's great that I have access to it, but that doesn't give an accurate depiction of use or of cost over time. So we're working to make them do a whole new pilot of, a diverse amount of people who use it once a month, people who use it a few times a month, people like me who use it constantly, so that it's an accurate depiction of what the numbers are, so that they can say, okay, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, it'll be like this. Instead of them saying, oh my gosh, it's so expensive now because people are constantly using it. It's not accurate. So my hope is that they actually do it in an accurate way. The newer vice president of Access-a-Ride, Chris Pangilian, he's a wheelchair user. He uses the service. And so it's definitely from a different perspective. Unfortunately, he's sort of taken off his advocate hat and put on his MTA executive hat. So now I don't know if I can necessarily trust it. I'm just being honest with y'all. I don't know if I can trust it anymore. But he is there, and I appreciate him being there because he is the first disabled person that they actually hired to run a paratransit system, which has not happened in any other state anywhere. And I'm not sure why the MTA didn't make a bigger deal out of it, because that is momentous, hiring an actual disabled person to run a paratransit company. That's never happened before. But they just shoot it along, pushed it through. It made a teeny tiny announcement at the MTA board meeting, and that was it. And I was like, okay, fine. Y'all don't want to celebrate it? It's all good. Missed opportunity. In any event, the MTA is trying their best to sort of improve Access-a-Ride, but in these sort of parameters of, this is too expensive. Other cities aren't doing it. If they're not doing it, then we're not doing it. While New York is not like any other city, does not have the same kind of customer base like other cities, doesn't have the kind of traffic that we have like in other cities. And so from my perspective, comparing paratransit here to someplace else, it does not help. And that we need to treat this like it's its own, unique situation of a paratransit company. And so we can't compare it to Boston or to Pittsburgh. Or even they were trying to compare it to paratransit in Ohio of all places. There's no way the traffic in Ohio is anything like in Midtown Manhattan. So you can't compare it, but they are. So that's where they're coming from in terms of cost and service and making sure that there are vehicles and making sure there are enough drivers. So, I would say if anyone here also uses Access-a-Ride, please use the complaint line. Like, it seems like it's sort of useless, but it's actually not. I've made huge, changes simply by complaining. And, we might think, oh, they're not listening. Oh, they're not, paying attention, but they are. So please complain. And if you have folks in your circle who are using it, help them to complain as well, because it makes a difference. If you have that, the code number that you've filed it in, and you get the response and you get the email, you have that documentation that you've complained. I don't know if you guys are aware, but there was a DOJ report because there were so many complaints about Access-a-Ride, about the service specifically. There were so many complaints that it went to the DOJ. So that shows you that the complaints do work and it does have an effect, because now the DOJ is like, what are you doing, Access-a-Ride? You're supposed to be following the ADA and you are not. You are keeping people on these vehicles way too long. I've been on an Access-a-Ride vehicle for up to 6 hours at a time. That is not legal. That is not normal. It's supposed to be up to 2.5 hours, which I still think is excessive. Because how are you going to keep someone on a vehicle that long thinking that, oh, you're going in the right direction, you're going in the same direction? No, especially during rush hour, especially during a day when the traffic is, and I used to live in Throgs Neck in the Bronx, and trying to get down into Midtown every day was a nightmare. So, you know, they can't necessarily say that they're trying to do everything in their power, because in my honest opinion, seeing the way it's gone over these years, they're really not. So yeah, so that was the first thing. So keep complaining. The second thing is, you know, check out those MTA board meetings. They are often, you know, sometimes they're very hilarious. I sometimes sit and just watch them and laugh, because they're quite ridiculous with some of the things that they say. And some of the, you know, especially about Access-a-Ride being like, oh, we're at a 95% on time rate. We've got 97% of people not complaining. And I'm just like, who are you asking? Because everyone I know who uses Access-a-Ride has a lot of complaints. Everyone I know who uses Access-a-Ride does not have on-time performance that is that great. So who are you asking? So go, you know, and luckily we were able to push them when I was still at New York Lawyers to do virtual meetings. So that is still an option, to do a virtual meeting, and it's posted on the MTA website about the boards every month. And they're usually during the end of the month. So check them out. Go, you know, it's you know, part of your civic duty to like show up and be like, hey, MTA, here's my 2 minutes about whatever it is that you want to complain about, whether it's accessibility, whether it's Access-a-Ride, whether it's whatever it is. Just go and show up and show your complaints, because it makes a difference. And it has made a difference with me showing up the last 6 years to say, this is not okay. And you guys are dehumanizing us. And oh, wait, you're not thinking about the mental health costs of your customers who mostly have compromised immune systems, who you guys are continuously stressing out. You're not thinking about that, but you're going to think about it, because I'm going to bring it up to you, and I'm going to bring it up every dang month, and I'm not going to stop. So show up for that as well. And my third ask is also talk to your elected officials. I have made great friends with a lot of elected officials, and they all tell me their number one complaint is about Access-a-Ride. So what does that tell you? Around the city, each and every borough, the most complained about thing is Access-a-Ride, not housing, not healthcare, not an accessible house, like issues with the sidewalk, Access-a-Ride. And so that, to me, shows that like people care about it, people want the service to improve, and people want to hold the MTA accountable. And that is our civic duty, to hold the MTA accountable. So, you know, keep complaining, show up to the MTA board meeting, and talk to elected officials, not just about Access-a-Ride, about everything. But Access-a-Ride, you know, is their number one issue that is complained about. So if anybody has any questions or anything like that, I'm still very much working around Access-a-Ride while I'm, you know, running the Harlem Independent Living Center and doing so many more things. But Access-a-Ride is still very much important to me, because I still use it daily to go to the office, and I've not been on time since I started February 16th. So that shows you just how much they care about my time, and just how much they care about anyone else's time using Access-a-Ride, which is disrespectful and dehumanizing. And I will not stand for it. I will keep on being the squeaky wheel about it. So if anyone has any questions or comments or anything like that, I am open to it.
Thank you, Iman. Certainly, we've heard a lot of about the issues, which some of us are aware of, some of them. Question I had is not about Access-a-Ride, but you mentioned, you know, to complain about disability, you know, issues with MTA, which includes buses. I had an experience one day last week of a bus driver refusing to pull to the curb when there was plenty of room for her to pull in. I use a rollator because I have some orthopedic issues, and it's very difficult for me to get off the curb and also to get onto the bus, when it's out in the middle of the street and the ramp is, like at a whatever 75-degree angle. And I told the bus driver that she needed to come to the curb. I was standing at the curb talking to her, over the length of, because she was out in the middle of the street. And the response I got from her I said, I said, you're supposed to be pulling to the curb. And she said, no, you're supposed to walk out to me.
Yeah, that's not.
And I couldn't get on the bus because of that. She said, are you coming or not coming? Giving me a hard time. And, I felt bad for the other passengers on the bus, but I wanted her to get my point across to her that it was up to her, and the next bus came along and pulled into the curb without an issue. So,
yeah, I'm so sorry you dealt with that. They are supposed to pull up on the
that's
curb,
right.
And you're not supposed to go in the street. And that is an MTA rule. And the fact that she said that, either she doesn't have the training, which I have noticed from a lot of workers, not just with the buses and the trains, but on Access-a-Ride, they'll claim, oh, they're trained. And I'm like, wait, what training? What training have you gotten? And they'll be like, oh, well, I watched a 20-minute video, but I wasn't really paying attention. That's not training. That is like dereliction of power, because you're not paying attention to the things that are important while dealing with vulnerable people. And that is not okay in my book. So I hope you mark down the bus to complain about that. I'm not sure.
I didn't have anything to write with at that point. Because if I'm on the bus and there's an issue, then, I'm sitting there, I usually have something to be able to write with, and I can write something somewhere and file the complaint, which I have done. And I told her I was going to, report her, but then I couldn't get the bus number and I couldn't get, it was just one of those instances. But I was
totally understand.
furious. I was livid. And
I can
another
imagine,
lady
yeah.
came along, to get on that bus, to wait for another bus actually. And, was sympathetic to, what I was going through, and saw that the next bus pulled into the curb without an issue.
Yeah, I'm glad you found someone that's sympathetic. Like, I speak all the time on all kinds of panels and conferences. And one of the points that I make is that being non-disabled is a temporary condition. Okay. I've only been an amputee 9 years. And while I had my lupus since I was a teenager, before that, I was a non-disabled person. And so if people think that they're exempt and that they're superhuman and that they're never going to break a limb, that they're never going to lose a limb, that they're never going to acquire a disability, I have a bridge to sell you. Like, you're delusional. No one on this earth is exempt from becoming disabled. And so if we don't care about our neighbors, what does that say about us? We need to care about each other, because not one person on this planet will be exempt. Even if you make it to 100 years old, you may still have some achy joints. You may still have some achy knees. You may need to use a rollator. You may need to use a crutch. You may need to use a cane. You might need to sit down more often. That's just real. My husband just turned 42 and his back hurts a lot more than it did 2 years ago. And he thought he'd be invincible forever. He is not. And so that, to me, shows us that we are, unfortunately, we want to stay young and hip and active. And I get it. I totally get it. But we also have to recognize that, not everybody has that capacity, and not everybody will stay healthy and strong and young forever. We all age and we all acquire disabilities of some kind. And I just wish we cared more about each other, which, kind of shows us where we are in the world,
Yeah, you're right, because more often than not, I get the opposite reaction. People are, angry that I'm holding the bus up because,
Exactly. I
this is-
took a bus a couple of weeks ago, and this guy it was one of the older buses. It wasn't one of the long accordion buses. And so it
Right.
wasn't as accessible. And so I had to fold up because I also use a rollator, especially if I'm out in the city and I have a bunch of meetings, and I folded it up and put it in a chair right next to me to keep it out the aisle so it wasn't in anyone's way. And this guy got in my face about it. And he was like, well, where can I sit? And I was like, homie, it is not my fault that this bus is inaccessible. You want to fix the inaccessibility on the bus? You write the governor. You write the mayor. You do something for me, because I do that every day. So if you care about accessibility, if you want more space on this bus, you call them too. And no one said anything. And he didn't say anything either. He walked away like a dog with his tail between his legs. Like I scolded him. You're the one coming up to me, getting into my face about inaccessibility when that's not my fault, when I'm trying to make space for everybody. And then you don't want to even acknowledge that I've said something that's actually making you think. Like it's wild to me that people are just like, oh, inaccessibility is your fault. You need to use the ramp. You need to use an elevator. You need to use this and that. You're the problem. No, I'm not the problem. Inaccessibility is the problem. My disability is not the problem. Inaccessibility is the problem. So we need to be real about it and realistic and not let people, I do not do bullies. If someone wants to try to bully me, they're gonna think again. And they're often, confused by my metal legs, thinking that I'm gonna let someone roll over on me. I don't think so. I don't operate that way. You wanna try to bully me, you got another thing coming. And if I could take my leg off and knock someone upside the head, I'll do it. I'm not letting anyone try to, manhandle me. And there's been a couple times where people try. And I'm like, yo, I'm not the one. And they really try me. So I'm not the type of person who's going to let someone do any of that to me ever. And if I see someone doing it to someone else, they've got a little help on their side, because I'm going to stand up for them as well, because it's
Right.
awful that we have to deal with that when we're just trying to go from point A to point B. Nothing special, just like everybody else. And we just want to be treated like everyone else, except we're treated like, people look at me like I'm an alien sometimes. And I'm like, I'm a human woman, just like any other human woman on this planet. And I don't know why I'm so different. So it's, I can get pretty passionate about it because of some of the things that have been said to me and done to me over the years, simply because I'm disabled. And I can't stand that. And I will not stand for anyone doing it to me or anybody else. So that's how I operate.
Okay, let me open the floor to the committee first for questions. If you could raise your hand, use the raise hand app or thing on the bottom of your screen so that I know who wants to ask questions. James, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I don't have a question. I just want to say that was an awesome report. So knowledgeable, informative, passionate, and real. So thank you for that. That was great. No question, though. I think you answered
You're
a lot.
very welcome.
Okay. Anyone else on the committee?
I would second that. James, you took my comment.
Thank you. I bring a lot of passion to it because I find oftentimes folks are like, oh, disability. I don't want to touch that. I'm not going there. Or, oh, all y'all need is healthcare. That's it. Oh, you just want Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security disability income. That's it. And I'm like, disability is not just about that. It's about so much more. My life encompasses so many things that have nothing to do with healthcare, nothing to do with Medicare and Medicaid. And so I bring passion to it because, like, all a bunch of different identities that I identify with, disability is not a monolith. We're not all the same. We don't all come out of some like little, cookie cutter box just popped out of a factory the same way. We're all different. And I, bring passion with everything I do, especially for this very big, diverse, disenfranchised group. And I will not rest. I often tell my husband, like, as long as I got breath in my body, I'm going to be advocating and I'm going to be organizing. Even as a new ED, I'm going to be advocating and organizing because it's so important. And my goal is to build more disabled leaders all over the city, because we need more disabled leaders in the city doing more things around
Right.
accessibility. And we need our non-disabled allies. Unfortunately, our non-disabled allies are stepping up the way they need to. So I need to gather my troops and get disabled leaders to step up and show up and remind them that we are here and we are capable, and we just need a little accessibility to do all the things that we want to do. So
Those of us who've been on the board for a while know and remember and fondly miss Edith Prentice, who was certainly the leader of the disabled and advocating for them wherever she was. And
absolutely, she was a
there was
good friend of
nothing like
mine.
seeing Edith
Yeah.
fly by you in her motorized wheelchair. And if you would yell out her name, she would stop abruptly and, you know, say hello and whatever if she had the time. But she went places and got a lot of things accomplished. And
Absolutely. I
yeah.
very much love Edith, and that is a person that I definitely want to emulate. There's a lot of different folks in the disability rights and disability justice movement that I'd like to emulate, and she's one of them, because she got things done, and
Yes.
she never took no for an answer, and she didn't ask for accessibility. She demanded it, period, and a discussion. And I can vibe with that. So
Okay, anyone else on the call have a question? Please, Lisa.
Thank you so much. I love to hear someone else that has that same fire. I'm always trying to cool myself down. The thing I'm listening for is, you know, I've been hearing about accessorized troubles for so long, and I get very fired up and angry. And then in terms of being practical and like even hearing Mary's experience, I think it's designed for people to be just unable to complain. Where's the bus number? What's the bus number to complain about? It's not easy. So I'm just wondering if there's like a 3-point tip to spread as a public service announcement about where to find the bus number, where, you know, how to make a complaint, and how to get elected officials to speak up for this issue of improving Access-a-Ride in some concise way that can be splattered to everybody to participate in this complaint process, because everybody feels like personally offended and upset, and then they let it go because they're so sickened by the experience. I see that over and over and over. So what would you suggest? Is there a 3-point public service announcement that could be distributed, you know, almost grassroots, to get people to know what to do if you don't get the bus to pull over to the side? This is not right. How do we complain together? That's my question.
absolutely. And I think that's a great question, because when I get angry, I don't just get angry, I turn my anger into action. And that's how I've been since I popped out the womb 39 years ago. That's how I operate. And so one great thing I would say is, you know, even if you don't have the exact bus number, if you know the bus stop, if you know the corner of the street, and you know the time specifically, you can always, you know, use all that and then go to mta.info and file that complaint after the fact. And so they can find, because there have been some times where years ago when I was still using buses regularly, I would have issues with the bus drivers not making people move out of the disabled seating. And I would constantly be like, dude, what are you doing? Do you want me to fall? Because I could just fall, you know, and if you want me to go out like that, then fine, that's on you. And sometimes they would make people move and sometimes they wouldn't, until I made a big stink about it. But sometimes I didn't have the bus number. So I did remember the time, I did remember the stop, and I did remember the cross street where I was, and then went to mta.info and said, this is what happened on this day, this time, this corner of the bus. I don't remember the bus number or the bus driver's name, but I do have all this information, and you should be able to find that specific bus And then also on MTA.info, again, those MTA board meetings, they are so vital and they're so important. And, you know, we should definitely show up each and every time there's an MTA board meeting and say, hey, all, what is your purpose as a board here? Like, what are you guys really doing? Are you actually monitoring what the MTA is doing? Or are you guys just sitting here, you know, pretending to do something on this board while doing absolutely nothing? One of my big pushes for several years already, it was to get someone with a disability on the MTA board, not an official, not a commissioner. And it was great that the old commissioner of MOPD was on the board. That was awesome. But he didn't use Access-a-Ride. He didn't use pen. He used the regular train, which is great. But he did not know about the lived experience of someone who lives in the community who has to deal with Access-a-Ride. So I've been pushing and pushing and pushing. Hopefully they'll get somebody on there. Don't know if they actually will, but I'm still going to keep pushing for it. So just document as much information as you can about whatever happened, even if you don't have the specific information, and then go on MTA.info and, complain up the wazoo about it, because, I've noticed from complaining for 13 years, they've done things, they've changed some things, but it took consistently complaining and consistently showing up, which is, it takes some time, unfortunately. So I don't know if that's a good enough answer. I'm sorry, it's not better.
Just a quick follow-up question. Is it equally acceptable in terms of this complaining process for people that cannot go to the computer to sign up for MTA complaint info? Can they just dial 311 and do the same thing?
You can dial 311 and complain. The only issue is that they may tell you to go to the website, which defeats the purpose. There have been some times when I've had to call 311 and complain, and I've unfortunately gotten so much of a runaround. But it is worth it. If you can get through the 311 shenanigans and also have the time, because the last time I called 311, I was on the phone with them all morning. One of my Access-a-Ride drivers broke my walker. And y'all know how walkers work. You don't just get a new one when it breaks. So I was just like, bruh, he literally pulled the brake line out of the rollator side, out of the wheel. And he was like, I didn't do it. I'm like, dude, it wasn't like that when I put the walker in the car. Yes, you did do it. And I called 311, I called the TLC, and I called Access-a-Ride, and I was on the phone with them all morning. Access-a-Ride didn't want to acknowledge it, but they did send me a check for $72, an unmarked check, to reimburse me for my walker. So you see exactly how they're doing things. They don't want to acknowledge that they're part of the problem, but they will compensate you if they have been part of the problem and just not admit it. And I don't like that kind of, it seems very disingenuous and very dishonest if you're going to do it like that. And unfortunately, the MTA operates like that on a regular, they've been like that since forever. And I'm not entirely sure what their issue is with the truth. You can acknowledge this driver broke this walker. We're reimbursing her for this walker. We will acknowledge that we have participated in this walker breaking, but that never happened. And so it frustrates me. It fills me with rage, but all I can do is keep on complaining about it and keep on advocating about it, because I know being the squeaky wheel has actually worked and has actually accomplished some change. Now it's slow change, very slow change, but there is change. So.
Gotcha.
You're very welcome.
Anyone else have a question or comment? James, is that an old hand? Or a new hand? Thank you. How about our students? Any questions from you guys? Haley, Madison, Luz, no?
No, thank you. That was a great presentation and just great overview. I agree. I think we don't think about folks who are able-bodied, perhaps don't think about disability as often, but I think this was a great reminder that we should all be advocates. So thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much. And I put my email in the chat in case anybody ever has any questions, further questions, whether it's about Access-a-Ride, whether it's about accessible housing, whether it's about any other accessibility issues that you may be having. We're sort of ramping up our advocacy in Harlem to do a whole lot more than what we've been doing before. So if you ever have any questions about any accessibility, anything, or events that we're going to be doing this summer, or if you want to chat, whatever, email me. I'm down for it. I love a good chat. So
Great. I'll probably be having more email information for you, questions or whatever. Thank you so very, very much.
thank you. I appreciated this. And again, if y'all need anything, just contact me. And here's also our website. In case you want to see some of the things, we're still updating the website, so there are changes coming. But you can see some of the updates once we get the calendar up to date. And then and if you want to read my bio, I mean, it's all the things I've done over the years, if you're curious, and whatever else. So yeah.
Beautiful. All right, Iman, you're welcome to stay on the meeting.
I
or
unfortunately
not.
have to get ready for another meeting. I have a
Okay.
gazillion meetings today. So thank you so
Gotcha.
much for this. It's super fun. And
Well, we certainly appreciate you taking the time to come to our meeting and give us some insight and answers and suggestions for how to deal with the disability issues and Access-a-Ride and buses and whatever. So thank you so very, very much and enjoy your day. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Take
All right,
care.
bye y'all.
Bye-bye. So moving the agenda, I just want people to know that next month, on May 4th, our speaker is going to be Megan Molina from the MTA to talk about Omni and how we get hooked up with Omni, because I keep looking at things, they're posted and, read things, but it still doesn't help me to figure out how to get an Omni card, especially the half fare one. So we'll all learn something. Is there any old business that we need to talk about?
Mary,
Yes, darling.
The advisory board for the seniors, for the aging, I'm sorry about seniors, for the aging met last week. The commissioner reporter, there are 3 RFP that is it's opening right now in April. So all the agencies that are here should be looking at that report from there to make sure that if there is an application that that is good for our senior centers. She met with the new chair of the seniors committee at the state, which is Cordero Clear, and we know that she's one of our state senator that is very, very good about the issue for the seniors. I also met with her, and so she have also attended or visited some of our local centers, very much involved. So I think that is hope that there are increases for more services for our seniors in our areas. Also, State Senator Robert Jackson is working also to help to increase on the budget, that that they're working very hard to get more allocation for seniors. So this is my report right now from the advisory board for the mayors. Okay.
Thank you for that report, Maria. Interesting. Anyone else? Under old business. Okay, seeing no hands, we will go into new business. And Lisa, you're on.
Thanks, Mary. So I mentioned in my introduction, because it's at the tip of my mind, that Lighthouse Guild has an adult day healthcare program. And we really want to make sure that we open the wide net to let everybody know that this is a program that's not exclusively for people with vision impairment. And we do really need to include more people for the program to continue. So we want to ask our community organizations to make referrals for adult day healthcare for anyone with a chronic medical condition that needs a higher level of support than simply a senior center. And anyone that might be right, even if they don't have vision impairment, we really want to spread the word. So if anybody has questions about that or comes across anybody that has some kind of chronic medical condition, even like diabetes, and generally it's a Medicaid program, and people use Medicaid transportation to come. There's breakfast and lunch. The director is a wonderful person to relate to. There's a vision rehab specialist on site for people that can take the next step in learning how to adapt to their vision loss. And there are about 75% people that have vision loss there, but it's a really welcoming place. And it's something that I think is an important part of our community. And I hope other people think that it's a good resource and can share that with people that have some fragility and could use a program that keeps them out of a nursing home and has a nurse on staff. So thank you for allowing me to share that. And I welcome all callers with questions in the community.
Of course, we need Access-A-Ride to get there, right?
Or Medicaid transportation, but yes, Access-A-Ride takes a lot of people there. Yes, it's a challenge.
Anyone have any questions for Lisa or comments? Seeing none. Anyone else under new business? Dory, I think
Yes.
you had. Yes.
I just wanted to share with the whole group that ARC is going to be celebrating their 50 years in June. It's actually going to be celebrated on June 9th at the Shabazz Center, 39th, 40th and Broadway between 165th and 166th. It's going to be from 5 to 9. It's an open gala, and the flyers should be coming out soon, probably next week. But sponsorships are available, and also journal ads for those that are interested in sharing. Thank you, Mary.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just one thing that's come up in Ebenezer, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mary. I just want to introduce Luz Mercado. She is from New York University, and she called yesterday. She is participated in a program, and I invite her to this meeting because I think the information she has is important. I don't know, she is probably a little shy to raise her hand, but Luz, I don't want you waste this opportunity and introduce yourself and the program that you are participating.
Yes, of course. Sorry,
Thank
I
you.
wasn't jumping in. I wasn't too sure what the structure of the meeting was, so I didn't want to interrupt anyone.
That's
But
okay.
if this is a good
You can
time,
always raise your hand and ask.
all right, perfect. If this
Go
is a
ahead.
good time, then I can go ahead and introduce
Yes.
myself and the team. Would it be fine if I share my screen? Is that something I can do? I had just had a few slides that I wanted to share with folks.
Yes.
It says I need host.
Ebenezer, you can.
I think the host needs to
Yes,
allow.
give me 1 second.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much. Oop. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. So Again, like Ebenezer mentioned, I spoke with him yesterday. I come from the New York University School of Global Public Health, and I'm here with my team. So Kaylee and Madison are on the call as well. So really what we wanted to do today is just really share with you all a research project that we're working on here at NYU, just to see if, you know, any of you might be interested or know of anyone who might be interested in this project and participating in this study. So our study is called the Hispanic ICU Experience Study. And I believe Kaylee will just go ahead and give us a quick background.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you again for giving us the time to talk to you about this project. It's inspired by my own lived experience growing up in New York and kind of working as a liaison between my grandparents, my family members, and their medical staff who might not speak Spanish or have a perfect grasp on communicating information to them in Spanish. And so we identified that there isn't a lot of work going into understanding the experiences and care preferences of family members of Hispanic patients who often really play a big part in the care process for people, especially people experiencing respiratory failure and more severe onset of symptoms. So essentially with the study, what we want to do is get a better idea of what these experiences are like for people in the light of the impact of COVID-19, especially.
Yeah, so essentially who we are looking to recruit for this study are essentially Hispanic identifying individuals in New York City. So these are folks who are over 18 or over the age of 18. And again, as Kaylee mentioned, we are specifically looking at family members. The patient experience is incredibly valuable. And that is essentially the overarching question for another study as well here at NYU. But what we would like to focus on are the experiences of family members. So we're looking for family members of patients who are hospitalized in an ICU during this period of March 2020 to March 2022. We would like these individuals to also be native Spanish speakers. And like I said, based here in New York City. And essentially what this process, the study or interview process looks like is that we would first just like to have a quick call with the person interested in this study. We would just like to ask, again, a few questions to see if they are eligible to participate. And this can be done over the phone. It would just be a quick phone call, or it can also be done through a survey. We have a survey, a link that would be sent, can be sent via email, and just filled out very quickly to see whether the person would be eligible. The next stage would just be the interview. This can be done in person, so we can meet in a comfortable space, public space, or over the phone or Zoom, whatever works best for the individual. We expect it to take about 60 minutes, no more than an hour. I think that's enough for everyone. And again, the only thing we would be recording during this time would be an audio recording, and that's just for our purposes, so we can go back and analyze that interview. And post-interview, so once we're done with this, any participant who participates and completes the interview will receive compensation, and that'll be a $20 gift card, which will be delivered upon completing the interview. And like I said, the only thing we're recording is audio recording, and that's just for our purposes, to make sure that we can analyze that within the post-interview period. All right.
So participating in this research project helps improve research to improve experiences and health outcomes for Hispanic ICU patients, and more especially their families, because of the way that many hospitals in New York City don't have translators that are available for Hispanic patients. And then to contact us, there's the four of us. So Kaylee, which is on call, Louise, Madison, which is me, and then Dr. Mari. And we're all available at icustudy@nyu.edu. And there's also the phone number that you can contact us.
Great. Thank you so much for Ebenezer for inviting us and for the time to just share this study with you all. We're open to any questions if anyone has any questions they might like to ask. I believe you're muted, Mary.
You're right. I was coughing, so I muted myself. If you guys can send me the PowerPoint, and I can distribute it to everyone on this call, as well as to Waikoa, because Waikoa has a wider range of organizations that may have people, to suggest. Okay.
Of course, yeah, I can send that over. And we also have some flyers, both in English and Spanish. So that's also something I can share with you and even provide hard copies if needed.
I'll put my email in the chat.
Great, thank you so much.
Hold on a sec. Okay. Since Kelly's name was there, I sent it to Kelly. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
But it's in the chat for anyone else. Any other new business that we need to talk about? Diane, anything going on at Isabella that we should know about? At MJHS?
Hi, I'm here. I'm here. I just, I have the sniffles today, and so I didn't think anybody really wanted to watch that. We are, per DOH guidance, we are no longer doing mandatory testing before residents, visitors come to see their loved ones.
Okay.
And so we still encourage people to screen and to get tested, but we're no longer for DOH able to require that people be tested before they go visit their loved ones. And other than that, everything is pretty well status quo at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things from the past I'd asked you, and I don't know if you were able to get an answer to that, if Isabella, if the recreation department is accepting magazines and that sort of thing.
I will check with them again. I will check. I'm sorry. I think the last time you asked, we were probably in the height of the of COVID, and the focus was elsewhere. Let me check with them.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Okay.
much for asking.
Because I'd like to get those out of my house before
I hear you. I will check. Thank you.
I'm not able to. Anyone else have anything to add under new business? Seeing no hands, we'll go to announcements. Now I have something to announce, and it's important for those that are on the call as well as the committee. Joseph, particularly you, I am having foot surgery, major foot surgery, on the 27th of April. And following that foot surgery, I have to be in rehab for 2 months. I will be at Isabella. I already made those arrangements. I was there when I had the other foot surgery, and it was 2 months in rehab. This time being a little bit different, although I had access then to a computer. But I will have my laptop with me, and hopefully I can get hooked up so that I can be on the meetings. I can't guarantee, especially for the May meeting. Depends on how much pain I'll be in, whether I can join the meeting or not, because that'll be shortly after the surgery. But we'll have the speakers set up and all that. So just FYI for the committee, and Joseph will talk later on offline about the needs and how to figure out who's going to do what. So that is my announcement. And I want to wish everyone a happy Passover, happy Easter. Any other announcements from anyone? I think, Dory, you made your announcement, so. Seeing no hands, no further information. The next meeting will be May 4th, Thursday at 10:30. And I told you that our speaker will be Megan Molina to present about Omni. Take good notes, Joseph, because I want to know how to do it. And I may not be able to get on the call. So let's have a motion to adjourn this meeting. James, second to the motion. Dory, okay, thank you. So the meeting is adjourned at 11:42 a.m. Take care, everybody.
Good luck to you.
Thank you
Good
so
luck.
much.
Thank
Sending you
you.
peace and healthy recovery, Mary. Thank you. everybody.
Yes.
And I can have visitors, so, and you don't have to test before you come and see me, so.
Right, it's